Welcome to Momtroversial, the podcast that dives headfirst into the beautiful chaos of motherhood and dishes on the stuff we wish we'd known and nobody tells you. This is your tribe for informed consent and unfiltered real talk. I'm Leeah, a scrunchy nurse riding the Hot Mess Express. I'm your girl's girl, here to remind you that it's fine, we're fine, and everything's fine.
I'm Alyssa, crunchy mom who's all about organic living. I'm organized, opinionated, and your designated wingwoman in any parenting bar fight.
And I'm Tori, your ride or die chaos coordinator, here to absolutely hold your secrets and your baby. Let's go.
And today we're tackling a topic that's got every mom talking. Everyone's a little bit passionate about it. And I feel like this is even going to be an interesting conversation between the three of us, because between the three of us, we all hold somewhat similar views, but then also we differ. So it's going to be really fun to talk about. So today we're talking about screen time. So buckle up and get ready for this conversation. To start off, I want to know, in your household, what is your baseline opinion on where you draw the lines when it comes to using screens with your kids?
Mine is as little as possible. Since Reagan turned 3, KK unfortunately is just a second child in this manner, we have started a chore chart for Reagan, and she can earn a movie if she gets enough X's on her chore chart at the end of the week, which KK just gets lumped into. So she gets to earn a movie too at 18 months. Lucky KK. But that is like the bare or the maximum is 1 movie a week. I would say she earns 1 to 2 movies a month at the end of it. My exceptions are you're throwing up. If you're throwing up, I want you sitting on the couch, on my blanket covered couch, watching a movie, not moving. Don't get the throw up anywhere else. Like that's that. And 13-hour plane rides to and from Korea. You can watch Frozen 5 times if you so wish. Those are my exceptions. But other than that, it's just not even an option.
Tori, what about you?
I am a little more liberal with the screens, but it's not my go-to. It's my last resort sort of thing. My kids do have learning tablets. So for anyone wondering, they're called Leapfrog tablets. We could link them in the show notes. They're strictly Leapfrog content. There's no YouTube. There's no weird apps and stuff on there. It is set by you, age level, and then there's all these different age appropriate Leapfrog only games. There's no Netflix. There's not any sort of, there are like movies, I call them movies, but they're like 30 minutes long, teaching about vowels and feelings and I don't know, all the things you want your kids to learn age appropriately. I'm still I don't just let them have open access to those either. When we do watch TV, it's very strict content. You know, I'm very particular about what they watch. I will say my husband is a big YouTuber, so I don't want to say he's constantly watching TV. There's always, not always, there's a lot of background TV at our house when he's home because he likes to watch, a lot. We've learned a lot from his YouTube's histories and mysteries is what I like to call them. But for me personally, if we didn't have a TV, we'd be fine. I wouldn't miss it.
Okay. I feel like for us, we have like our TV, but we rarely use it. I am on the same page as Alyssa of as little as possible, except for the fact I don't do a movie night that is earned. We just do family movie night every week. And what's really interesting is it's usually on a Friday, maybe a Saturday. It's on the weekend when daddy's home. We make it like a big deal where we do homemade pizza, we get popcorn, we get candy, we get his nugget couch and make a little like bed at the like lay down, and Ella gets to watch it too because she just exists because she's the second
She's
child
part of the
as
family.
well. Yeah. And what's interesting is Declan has like grown to expect it. Like it's almost like he is old enough, he senses the rhythms of our week, and he knows when we're at the point in the rhythm of the week that he's like, is it movie night? And it's usually like a Friday or Saturday. And I'm like, yeah, tonight's movie night. And he gets so excited But the nice thing is, other than that, if I say no, it's not movie night tonight, movie night's on Friday, he's fine with it. So the only time we really do screens is we do the family movie night, and then if I need it on a 13-hour plane ride, like Alyssa was saying, even any plane ride. Like for us, any plane ride, it's fine, because I want to read my book. And if I'm like reading my book, he can't read to himself. So if he wants to watch Cars, he can watch Cars. And the other time that I will is if we're at a photo shoot for Ella and he had to come with me, I will allow him to watch something if he wants to, just because, to be frank, that makes my life easier when I'm having to be with her. But if I'm not with her, him and I will play with his toys. And by not with her, I mean I'm always in the room with Ella, but if they're not needing me to help pose her for photos and stuff, I'm kind of like in the background playing with Declan where she can see me. But if they need me to be more hands-on, then yes, I will give him that. So those are the three like stipulations in our house: movie night, plane rides, and photo shoots. Not long car rides or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to know, when it comes to our screen time decisions, what led you to make the decisions that you have made for the boundary and the flow in your household when it comes to watching TV with your kids?
Honestly, it was like almost my own actions. I see my addiction to screens and how hard it is for me. It started, when we got married, and Ryan would be like on his phone while I'm talking to him, and I'd be like, I'll just wait until you're done then. And it irritated him so much. But I was like, I want your full and undivided attention. And then we had kids, and I was like, okay, so by being on my phone, and I'm doing the same thing that I didn't like that Ryan did to me, first of all, then to my like small children who don't really, they make the basic connections. That basic connection is mom's phone is more important than me. And so we started implementing screen timers on our phones, and then also phones on the table when kids are awake. We've been doing a just terrible job of that lately with everything. But the idea is, if the girls are awake, our phones are on the table. If we get a call, we get a text that we have to respond to, we do that, but we do it and we put it back on the table. And we've taught the girls to kind of be our accountability partners in that, where they can say, no phone, mommy and daddy. Phone on the table, mommy and daddy. I'll take your phone and put it on the table, mommy and daddy. And so that has really helped just reframe my point of view. And then, again, no judgment, but also it is true. You watch these iPad kids, you look at their behavior, you look at their inability to focus, their need for constant instant gratification. They don't want to play on the playground. They don't want to just play with their toys by themselves. They need a screen, even to the point where Reagan, I would show her pictures of herself on my phone, just because, you want to see pictures of yourself when you're a baby. It's kind of fun. She's in her little baby phase. But we also have photo books that I've made, and she will say, I want to see pictures of baby Ray Ray. And I say, okay, this is my screen time free kid for the most part. I say, okay, go look at the photo book. Like, bring me the photo book. We'll read it. No, I want to see it on mommy's phone. Like from a 3-year-old. I just see such a difference. Like, within a few minutes, in my opinion, whether someone's kid gets screen time or not, when you're like even just meeting them, usually. And for me, that's like all the difference I need. Plus, like, we all know it's rotting our brains. It's not good for you. Like, there might be better screens for you, but there are not good screens for you. So that's my opinion.
What are your thoughts, Tori?
I mean, I can agree with pretty much everything that Alyssa said. I think you can definitely tell, usually within a few minutes of meeting a kid, whether they're an iPad kid or not. I mean, it's eye contact, it's you focus, it's, can they talk to an adult? Can they talk to another kid? Are they trying to play? Like, what are they doing? Are they screaming? Are they, like, it just, not that screaming is an indicator that there's iPad kids, but that's, universal. But I think it's it's very clear who sets like what parents will set boundaries with their kids and what won't. Like I know personally, I used to be a big TV mom. I was the I need a break, turn on Cocomelon, straight up. That was me. And I don't know. I saw some like stuff on Instagram, reels talking about um the I forget what like the technical term is, but basically like how fast the screen changes on the TV
It's
and
the scene
what
change.
yes, like what that does to kids' brains. And it was specifically talking about Cocomelon. And I was like, oh shoot, my kids watch Cocomelon. So I was like zeroed in on this. And then I couldn't let it go. That's something you're gonna find out about me. I'm probably gonna mention it a million times. But once I know something, I can't unknow it and I can't let it go. That's just I can't just unknow it. And so once I figured out how bad it was for them and I kind of shifted from bad TV to good TV, quote unquote. Um, stuff that was slower, wasn't as vibrant color wise. And there's actually an Instagram account. He's called the Unschool or something like that. You can tag it. I'll find him. He rates TV shows and he has all this criteria and he rates it on vibrancy, screen change time, content, and maybe something else. But he rates them based on what he like based on like a legitimate scale. And so I didn't immediately find him, but I immediately dumped Cocomelon, I'll tell you that. And my degree is very largely in childhood development research. And so I've found out a lot of different things through there, and which has shaped my beliefs about educational screen time and quality screen time and stuff like that, which we can debate later.
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear some of what you've learned from your degree, just because I mean, you literally went to school for this. So I'm a big believer in, I think that there's a balance. I think that there is a healthy balance. But I also think knowledge is power, and the more knowledge you have, then you have the power to make better decisions. So for us, we made the decision as little, and I knew I didn't want to do screens. But for us, when Ella was born, I fell into stereotypical situation. If I went from 1 to 2, I had 2 under 2. I had a newborn. I was dying, tired, overseas, no family. So guess what we turned on? Every single day we were turning on the TV for Declan because I was just trying to get by. But when I really decided I was setting a hard line on it in our house was when I saw the change in my kid. And it wasn't just the change of I went from being the only child to I have a sister now. It was the change of he was being even aggressive with me, not just Ella. And he was being physically aggressive. He was throwing so many tantrums. He was having such difficulty settling. And that was even with continued one on one time. Travis was home with me. So it wasn't just me trying to balance 2 kids and giving Declan the TV. It was mommy and daddy were home, and then we had 2 kids. So Declan was still getting this one on one time. But when we would turn off the TV, it would be like World War III. And this was not my kid's baseline. Him, before we had started this, was not a tantrum throwing kid. He was a kid who, even at 21 months old, he would still listen and follow directions, and he wasn't super physical. And then we started implementing it. And for me, already having known that I hadn't wanted to do screens, but then we did, and I saw this behavior change, I decided that this was going to be a hard line. I'm not doing this. And I can see why people lean into this. But for our family, I would rather do the hard right now for the short term for a more productive, healthier long term for both of my kids. And also the photos on the phone thing that Alyssa was mentioning, we used to do that. I used to let him watch videos of himself on my phone because in my head, it's not a TV show, it's real life. So it's still more normal. But that was even an issue when he was little because he would say, no, I want mommy's phone. but my phone's not a toy. And if I took it away, it became a huge issue. And that's even a battle that we've had to fight with both of our parents as well. Alyssa,
Oh,
what are
yeah.
your thoughts?
So I just have two things, like piggybacking off of you saying like it, like doing the hard now. It, like, we don't want to minimize it. It is so hard. I remember Reagan being 10 months old and I was pregnant, newly pregnant with KK. I was literally laying on the floor of our living room. I had barricaded Reagan in and she was trying to play with me while I laid there with my puke bucket. And like, it took every ounce of my being to not turn on that TV, every ounce. But so it is hard. But I would also say that this is the time to do it when they don't really have control over their, like, or as much control over their emotions, their urges. What's the word I'm thinking of?
Impulse control?
Yes, impulse control. Thank you. And I think, like, Tori, like, you have your slightly older kids with their leapfrog learning tablets, and that's like they're able to differentiate between like learning and fun TV shows and stuff. Not that the learning isn't fun, but there's just that ability to differentiate, and I think that that makes a difference too. And man, I had one more thing. It was great. Don't know what it is now though. But yeah, it is so hard, but it is so worth it. And you won't convince me that, like, as little kids, it's ever honestly good to give the TV as an entertainment option. Even as learning, like, I know people love Miss Rachel. I personally think she's the most annoying person on earth. But like, you're sure she can teach your kid, like your kid can say the ABCs or whatever a little earlier, but also you can sit down with your kid and teach that. And yes, it is harder. And yes, it might take longer, but it will also 100% be better for them. And, you know, it is what it is. You do you. I don't like, I care what happens in my house around my kids with my family, but also, like, I mean, we're Momtroversial. We're not going to shy away from saying what we think is the best, I guess, because in the end, we were talking about our kids specifically. But
Facts.
yeah.
What do you think, Tori?
Well, first of all, I was gonna say something else, but then you mentioned Miss Rachel, and I had to say my piece about Miss Rachel. This is gonna be a very mom-troversial thing to say, but I do not like Miss Rachel. I think which is so sad because she has a master's degree in childhood development, but she is sold out and capitalized on the money that she's been able to make from her videos. And you know, I actually watched a video about this. Somebody tracked like her, I'm trying to think, they tracked a lot of different things from her, like her timeline basically from when she started making videos. They were short, they were like short and sweet basically, and fell in line with, you know, developmental standards, let's just say. They started getting longer and longer, and you could see when she started monetizing and started making a ton of money. Then all of a sudden, her videos for like 2 and 3-year-olds started being 2-3 hours long. And to me, that's disgusting and absolutely taking advantage of people because she absolutely knows better. She knows better than what she's like. She knows what she's doing. It's all for the money. And I'm very anti Miss Rachel. I don't even care about her content at this point. Although I will say I've seen some, I don't want to say anti-Christian things in there because I think that's a little harsh, but she's a little too left leaning for me. And that
She
shouldn't
pushes
have any place.
agendas.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to say. She is an agenda pusher, and I think that doesn't have any business in any portion of child anything on either side. I don't think we should be pushing agendas that are adult agendas on children, period. What I was going to agree with Alyssa on is younger than 3, I don't think there's really any positive benefit to screens for children. The only caveat I will make to that is FaceTime. There have been studies
Yes.
that have shown that FaceTime has shown improved social development for little kids. And my living overseas, it's really unavoidable for that. And, people don't think about FaceTime being screen time, but it really is. It is screen time. And it's the only time that our kids get to see their grandparents. So it kind of is what it is. But it has shown there have been some positive benefits of that. But outside of that, I fully agree. Up to a certain age, there's zero benefit of screens for kids.
Okay, I will say we also do screen time, like literally. If you want, well, when we were in Korea, we did FaceTime screen time literally every day. So I'll put that out there. But also, like, let's put it like just into perspective. Even the American Academy of Pediatrics says that you shouldn't give your kids screen time until 2 years old. And they're wrong about literally everything else, pretty much, in my opinion. So, like, when even the AAP is telling you don't put your kid in front of a screen until they're at least 2 years old, like, that should, open things up. And I get it. Like, it's hard. Like, I want my little princess to love all the Disney princesses. And now with these weekly movie nights, we're just getting into that. But it was hard to like wait. And, my friends were like, oh, my kid loves Cinderella. My kid loves Rapunzel. My kid loves Elsa. I'm like, I love Elsa. I want Reagan to love Elsa. But just wait. She'll still love Elsa. She does at 3. Now she loves Elsa. KK unfortunately loves Elsa too, but such is life. I could do better on that, but I don't, honestly. So there's that.
So I have a question for you guys. And Tori, I want you to start with answering this. Why do we think then, if we know, so all of us are on the same page of up until a certain point, there is absolutely no benefit really for our children. Yet so many moms, even me, right after Ella was born, fall into the trap of really young children. We just turn the TV on for them. And it just is almost like expected. I know that there are people who sit in the middle, but I do feel like there's really two camps of people. There are the people who you have a baby, a newborn, and you're turning on the TV for them. And then you have the people who are kind of more in the camp that we're in, where it's of the mindset, no, my kid doesn't need screen. Nothing good's really going to come from it until a certain point, or it's necessary, or it's regulated. Why do we think that people in the camp, where even with babies, feel the need to turn on the screens, even if, for example, the American Academy of Pediatrics and other research is showing that this is more detrimental for your child than it is helpful?
I think that's a loaded question, but I'll try to keep it brief. I think the number one thing is, regardless of what the AAP is putting out, I think people they're kind of ignorant to the truth. And that's not to insult anyone, but it's like they don't understand the actual full detriment of what could happen. And that's maybe because it's not really explained. You get a pamphlet when you go to the doctor for your kids' baby appointments and stuff like that. And at a certain point, they start asking, how many hours of screen time does your kid get? But that's really the extent of it. There's no huge conversations being had in the doctor's office of, you shouldn't be having screens. They're detrimental. They can harm your child's development. I'd venture to say the only time that it's talked about in one of those offices is if the detriment has already happened and they're wondering what's going on with their kid. There's no preventative. I shouldn't say there's no preventative. There's a huge gap in preventative information and education in parenting. So that's like number one. I actually heard, this is number two. I heard someone say one time that they thought their baby would be lonely if they like left like their baby would be lonely if they left the room to take a shower or something, or if they had to go put another kid to bed or whatever. They thought their kid would be lonely, so they put on the TV. And I was kind of blown away by that, but that's because I'm me. But I just, I think some of it is very innocent. I think it can be you're genuinely caring, like, oh, I don't want them to be sad or scared or lonely or whatever. And it's because we're not understanding, normal development at certain ages. And that's going to lead me to the overarching thing. And this was something I heard on a Dr. Becky podcast, Good Inside by Dr. Becky. She was saying that parents are and I'm going to totally misquote her, by the way, so please just go listen to this episode. She's talking about how if you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're any sort of other professional, you have gone to extensive schooling to be sure that you are the expert on your job. She said, but we shame parents and we don't like promote parental education as like this normal thing. You're a parent. That's part, like, even if you have another career or another job, that your job is being a parent. So the fact that there's this huge stigma about, and maybe not even a stigma, but there's just this lack of inherent education when you become a parent. You know, there's some hospitals do new parent classes, or, you know, there's certain things, but there's not like this constant ongoing learning as your child changes development. You have to seek it out. You have to be very intentional about it. And if you're ignorant to the fact that anything is even going on, if you didn't learn it from your parents, if you didn't learn it at school, how else are you going to know? So she's talking about how it's so crazy to her. And I agree that there's every other profession. Your doctor's not just going to be like, oh, it's instincts. Not all parenting is instincts. You have to know. You have to learn and be trained. And so I think it really boils down to a lot of people are not trained. They have not sought out the information. And I mean, what are you going to do if it hasn't? You don't know what you don't know. And unless you've come across it or you meet another mom
amazing.
or something, it's, you don't know it. How are you going to know it if you don't know it? And so it's this lack of education, it's this lack of awareness.
Dang. That is such a good point. I never thought of it like that, but that's like just some common sense genius right there.
Dr. Becky.
Dang.
Dr. Becky. Don't take any credit.
I will say one of the things, and Leeah and I have talked about this before, it's like people say, oh, well, they don't recognize the behavior shift in their kids, especially if their kids have been raised by the TV, because there's no other type of behavior that they've seen. But it's like, oh, well, it's the terrible twos. It's the, well, I don't know, three-nager, whatever it is. Like, they're just bad because of their age. No, they're not. No, they're not.
Hold on, let me start twitching.
There are aspects of being a 2-year-old that is harder, and there's aspects of being a 3-year-old that is harder. And there's aspects of being 18 months and having so much going on in your brain, but you can't communicate it, so you're just going to scream about it a little bit. But
Charlie.
KK right now. But your kid is not, quote unquote, bad just because of their age or just because they're a toddler.
Straight facts.
If you put in the effort and the time and attention to detox them from these screens that they've been raised on, you would have a completely different kid. The amount of times we go to a restaurant, go literally anywhere, and I get 2 questions. 1, are your kids twins? No, they're not. Thank you for asking them. 2, wow, they're so well behaved. You're so blessed. And every time I want to say, you know what? I'm blessed to have my kids, but it was freaking hard work that got them here. Okay. Yes. It's not just magically being blessed that they're good. It's, I went through the hard, and I'm still going through the hard of every day making that choice that no, screens is just not an option. It's not even an option on the table for us. And honestly, I'm actually convicting myself by talking about this. And I think that next time Reagan gets a movie night, one of us might take KK out on a date or something, because she shouldn't be having screen time right now. And so you go ahead and feel free to hold me accountable to that. One day we'll have family movie nights, but our kids are going to be age appropriate. Boom. I said it. There we go.
I have so many thoughts on all of those things. I agree with Tori. You don't know what you don't know is the why. And I think an area where I struggled as a mom with Declan specifically, and I've done so much better with Ella, is I felt this need to entertain him. for some reason. And I don't know where it came from. I just felt this innate need of me to entertain him. And to be completely transparent, it was soul sucking, feeling like I needed to spend every minute of my day doing baby things to keep my baby happy. Because that's not what I wanted to do as an adult, right? Like I want to spend time with my kids, but I didn't feel called to just be on the floor all day or walking around the house giving Declan a tour all day, every day, and showing him how the lights flip. But that's boring. Nobody wants to do that. But I felt the need to entertain. And because I'm stubborn as an ox, I didn't do a TV, but I can see why a lot of moms would result to that because it really can get you into a dark place because you kind of are losing your identity and you're exhausted and you only have time then to do house things if you're not working when your kids are asleep. And if you are working, you're burnt out at the end of the day. But I did this program and I already sent Ryan a link that I want him to put in the show notes, but it's research based called Raise Wildflowers. And Jerica Sains is on Instagram. I had my mom buy this for me for Christmas when I wanted to detox Declan from the screens after Ella was born. And she had dropped the most profound wisdom on me. And she said, you know why we feel the need to entertain our kids? It's because of our own shortcomings of us being overstimulated and busy and feeling, quote, bored because of all we've done to fill our minds. But babies don't come out knowing what boredom is. Kids don't come out knowing what boredom is because this whole world is new to them. So if you just let them explore and create an environment for them, you don't have to do the entertaining. Your job is to create the safe space and then let them learn the world through exploration the way God intended them.
Mm-hmm.
And when she said that, I was like, my gosh, that makes so much sense why it was so hard, even when I had just one with Declan. So with Ella, I created a safe space and then I put her on the ground and I let homegirl go to work and she explored safely. And now she still will want me to hold her, but she's so much more independent and can go and play and do more because I allowed her to do her job of learning her world rather than me trying to do it all for her. So for why people, I feel like, go down the screen time road, it's that feel the need to entertain. But if we just chose to trust God's design and our children, then we would realize we don't need to entertain. They can do it themselves. What are your
Where's the
thoughts,
mic so I
Tori?
can drop it?
Preach. Preach.
So something I just wanted to piggyback off of an earlier thing you said, but I think something I did when Hannah was younger and I had the TV on, it was constantly kid TV. I had on we were big fans of Little Baby Bum when Hannah was, I don't know, 18-ish months. I thought she was learning. So it literally you don't know what you don't know. I thought she was learning. And I'm like, oh, it's counting, it's ABCs, it's like nursery rhymes and stuff. I really didn't see anything wrong with it. And looking back, I wish I could go back and change it, but I can't. But fast forward to what you just said. Seriously, mic freaking drop. But that is all based in significant research. Like creating a safe environment for your kid to have autonomy. And there's different child development theorists on this, but my favorite is Eric Erickson. He has splits it literally from birth to death. Like there's a stage of development for everyone. And I'll have to look and see exactly what, I'm pretty sure it's 0 to 18 months, 18 months to 3 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 17, and then the adult stages start. And so I'm pretty sure between that 18-month and 3 years is like that huge like need for that autonomy. So you're already ahead of the game. Like usually in that first like 0 to 18, like security and attachment, those are like the huge like big developmental things. So you're giving her such a gift by like already allowing her to have this like exploration and autonomy. Like she's gonna be so developed, so well developed.
Round of applause.
Thanks. I can't take credit. Ray's Wildflowers was my wake up call. It was so good.
But you went out and found that. And that's a big thing. Like,
Yeah.
yes, there is ignorance, but also in this day and age, it's hard to excuse ignorance as much because it's everywhere. If you're not like, for example, you see this episode and you see it's on screens and you're like, ugh, they're going to tell me not to use screens. And so you don't listen to the episode. Stuff like that. Like, people don't want to be challenged anymore, I feel like is also an issue. You know, you see it on Facebook, like someone all the time posts, I don't want to do screens for my kid, but I'm really overwhelmed. What can I do? And instead of like offering alternatives or like coping mechanisms seems dramatic, but like coping mechanisms, like how to figure out like how you can use this time and avoid screens, that kind of thing. People, usually the people who use screens very liberally, are like, screens aren't bad for you. Don't listen to those people. Sometimes you just need it. And it's all this like justification of their actions, but really you're pulling someone else into a really bad habit. And that really irritates me because I'm like, you do you, that's fine. But don't push it on other people when it's like this isn't just my opinion. It is scientific opinion that screens are not good for your kid. Like, period. If you choose to do that, that's fine. But don't push it on other people. Something that's specifically proven to be bad for their child. So that gets me going.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not that bad. It freaking is, and everybody knows it, and you're just trying to make yourself feel better about it.
What breaks my heart is what you were saying earlier with the terrible twos. And I know we will joke about it. Like I remember we joked about Hannah being a six-nager, but when people truly just expect this standard of behavior for their children, and a lot of times it breaks my heart because I love being a mom. If you called up Terry, which is my mother, and asked her which of her children she thought would be a stay-at-home parent and want to have lots of babies, it would not have been me. But since having kids, I have really fallen in love with the good, the bad, and the ugly of being a mom. But I'm also very pro parental education. And because of that, I have invested and continue to invest in learning the best way to raise my kids. And then I will choose something in the middle that fits my family from what I've learned. And I truly believe that children, besides the brokenness of sin, right? Like we're all just sinful. I truly believe that children are not out to be terribly behaved. And that their goal is not to make your life miserable. Tantrums are not the norm. Defiance is not the norm. Pushing boundaries, yes. Difficulty expressing emotions, yes. These are all learning factors that we as parents need to learn how to help our children through. Because to be honest, I still struggle regulating my emotions. So how can I expect my 2-year-old to do it too? But a lot of these people who will say, two terrible twos, three-nagers, and it just keeps getting up. It used to just be terrible two. Do you guys notice that? And how now it just keeps getting higher and higher for every age. And I notice a lot of those children, it comes from homes where we utilize screens. It comes from homes where they have a lot of time watching shows. And then the behavior, and this is backed evidence and scientific, and Ryan's going to post some research that I sent him in the show notes for anyone who's interested. It is backed that when you do screens with your kids, they're more aggressive. They are more physically aggressive, more prone to tantrums, more prone to ADHD, hyperactivity without necessarily actually clinically having that. They have sleep disruptions. So then that's why your young child who still needs a nap isn't going to take a nap because they're so overstimulated mentally that they can't calm their brain down. So you drop a nap and then you have chronically exhausted children. And then that's where you get this terrible twos and the teenagers and the four and so on and so on. But truly, for our kids to rest, the best rest for them is to turn off the TV and go play, whether it's inside or outside with those toys. So that's one thing. It breaks my heart for those parents because you don't know what you don't know. And my biggest challenge is if you were to, and Raise Wildflowers has a free TV detox, but if you were to take the challenge of do 2 weeks of the hard to detox your kids from the overstimulated screens and the poor screen choices as well, what would your life look like with the behavior of your children 2 weeks later?
Try it. Try it.
I
Peer
mean,
pressure.
I can answer it for you as someone who's been through it.
Yeah,
Everything
I want your
changes.
thoughts.
Everything changes. It really does. Like my kids went from being just like super crazy, which is why I had them on the TV in the first place, because I was like, oh my gosh, I just need like a this is a line from Freaky Friday. Could you give me just like 1 minute, please? Like so that's like what I felt like, that I was just feeling so, I just couldn't breathe in my environment. And but I was perpetuating it. And I don't know. I don't think we realize I think this goes for so many things in parenting. Parents don't realize what they are doing to contribute to the behavior, whether that be with TV, whether that be with not listening, not respecting your kid's voice, jumping to conclusions. There's so many different things that we do as parents that either create the bad behavior or to perpetuate it or escalate it. We get in power struggles. We do all these things.
Oh, frick.
We think, either we're triggered, can't regulate our own emotions, and then we're literally pissed at our kids for doing the same thing. But one of my favorite statements is all behavior is communication. And you just have to figure out what it is. What are they communicating with the behavior? And, on the topic of screens, if they're being all wild and crazy and are screaming every time you turn off the TV, that's what they're communicating to you, that they're overstimulated and it's too much. And one last thing I wanted to talk about is that, like what Alyssa was saying about the comments of people saying, oh, screens aren't that bad. Like you do you, like take your time, whatever. I think people like that build their own echo chambers, and their social media news feeds are probably filled with that same sort of content, because that's one thing about social media. If you're whatever content you're consuming, that's what's going to show up on your feed. So if you're constantly consuming I don't know, just take the time for you, mom, screens aren't bad. I saw this one, and this is a completely other episode, but there's this mom, she was like, oh, I know everything that's in the food and I don't care. And she was showing her kids eating the Kool-Aid and the popsicles and all of the things that, we've cut out of our kids' diets for reasons. And so you have those people that are in their own little echo chamber that have their specifically designed social media. So I think I want to give like a little bit of a grace for that, because if you're not seeing that other content, if you're not looking for it, you're probably not going to see it. So I think you need to be, but like, I think who we surround ourselves with is so important in this regard, because again, if you're surrounding yourself with an echo chamber and there's nobody to ever challenge you or challenge your beliefs or gently slide you some research or just to model a different example, period, like without ever even saying anything, I think you're not going to grow. And that goes for a lot of other topics. But I think being able to be around other people who might have a different opinion than you and being open to that, like, oh, why do you special buy your candy? Or why don't your kids have iPads? Why won't you give your kid your phone at the restaurant? Whatever it is. And then that invites that conversation. But I think more than anything, it's modeling the behavior for other parents, which is really funny because that's what we're supposed to do for our kids, to teach them, is to model for them so that we can model for other parents too. And other parents get to model for us. And I think it's this awesome, beautiful little cycle.
I love that. What are your thoughts, Alyssa?
Well, I just think like this is all tying back to what you were saying. I'm just still blown away by this, and I don't know how I've never thought about it before. That we're not getting any education. You know, if you go out and look for it, you can get education. But like, well, yeah, if no one's told you that there's like opposing views on something, you know, in certain cases, yeah, like kind of it's common sense. Like, okay, like some people do screens, some people don't do screens. I wonder why. But like, yeah, teach them. And not only that, it's like, okay, I'm going to go out and buy this course. And you don't have to buy every course to learn all of the things. But like a lot of the things, if you don't have, you know, unlimited hours to just spend researching things and reading, you know, random articles, then yeah, it's easier to buy a course. But not everyone has just unlimited money to just buy courses. And, you know, even to try and better yourself as a parent. So yeah. But I also want to talk about alternatives to screen time. Because like, okay, we're sitting here yelling at you. Screen time is bad. It's bad for your kid. Okay, but I still need a break. Please, I still need a break. I'm a big believer in schedules and nap time. Okay, that'll get you a break right there. Schedules and nap time. My kids go to bed at a certain time. My kids go to bed at a certain time. They are not allowed out of their room until their light turns green in the morning. My kids get up at 7:45. I am in bed until 7:45 in the morning. Pretty much every day. It's glorious. Okay. If you like don't believe in schedules, believe in sleep. Like, don't you want to sleep? Don't you want that?
We want it for you.
We want it for you. But yeah, so you've got well-rested kids that are not overstimulated, that do understand the amount of times that Kennedy and Reagan will come to me of their own accord and say, "Mommy, I'm tired. I want to take a nap." And because I have them on a schedule, they come to me at nap time or right before nap time and say that because their bodies trust that they're going to get the rest they need. Now, that being said, they took freaking 2 hours to fall asleep yesterday. I was pissed about it. But but it was because we had been traveling a couple of days before and they were sleep deprived. Like,
I can't wait for a sleep episode where we really dive into that.
But anyways, there's also like there's so many other screen-free, like I could say guided activities that you can do. One of our favorites is the Yodo. I love our Yodos. It's the little books on tape that you did in the 90s when you were a kid, except for 2025. You get it's like a little box and you get a little card and you put the card in. And my girls, KK could do this by herself at 18 months. She picked her card. She knew the cards based on, she wasn't reading them, but she knew them based on how they looked. And she would put it in and she would put her little Yodo mini around her neck and she'd just walk around and listen. And Reagan will sometimes find the corresponding book and flip pages, completely not on the right page, but she's doing it. And they will sit there. That is what we do for long car rides instead of iPads. And they can play with it any time of the day that they want. We actually have like the regular size Yodo player for just regular play during the day. And then I keep their Yodo minis as like a special treat for the car. I think that's way overboard, to be honest, but I didn't understand it when we got them. So we just have them. So that's how I use them. But you could totally just get Yodo minis and be totally fine in your lives. They recharge. You can make your own cards. So it's like a Tony's box. A lot of people know what Tony's box are and not a lot of people know about Yodos. But the nice thing about Yodos is that it's really easy and really cost effective to make your own cards. For us, with our kids not living close to grandparents, I gave all of our family members access to the app and they record stories and I put them on their own Yodo cards. So Ryan, Reagan will decide she wants to listen to the Nana card. She wants to listen to her Bonbon card. She wants to listen to May, whatever it is. And she gets those cards and they read books to her. And it is her favorite thing. My sister Yvonne is like, so far, the just total winner on recording these stories. Everyone does a great job.
Go,
But Yvonne has voices. She will like talk to them during her recordings, and Reagan's sitting there like answering her questions. And it's so cute.
Let's go.
So yeah, you've got Yodos. You've got, quite frankly, if you have a screen-free kid, like pretty much any toy can be something to occupy them because that's their option and they'll do it. We're big fans of trains right now. But yeah, so I just want to get that out there because it sucks to just be yelled at and told that you can't or you shouldn't do something, but good luck figuring out what you should do. See you later.
Yeah, and I, piggybacking off of that, Declan doesn't have his own Yodo, but he has played with it with Alyssa's girls. And he loves it because he loves reading books. Because part of our bedtime and nap time routine since he was little has been reading books to him. And so he loves reading books. So it's kind of a tell for me when he needs some quality one-on-one time is he'll bring me a book and want me to read it. And that's kind of how I know that he just needs some snuggles. But the Yodo, he loved it when we were at your house. And he would just play with the cars with the girls and they would just listen to their Yodo. So, and another for alternatives, but I'm going to plug it until the day that I die. This Raise Wildflowers program that I took is phenomenal. And it teaches you how to develop strong, resilient children and teach them how to play independently. And I've gone through it and had to help reteach Declan independence because I had never allowed him independence. I had always been there doing it for him and everything. But now we're at a point where I don't necessarily feel like I need an alternative because he can play well on his own. And he knows, like, if I am doing something, I can say, Declan, and I follow through on what I say. That's something that's huge, too, for alternatives. If I'm doing the dishes, I'll say, Declan, when I'm done doing the dishes, I will come XYZ with you. And because he knows now that I will follow through on it, then he'll go back to doing what he was doing, or he'll help me. He'll come help wash the dishes.
So helpful.
Or take the spray bottle and go spray the table. And when we go out in public, we plugged this in one of our other episodes. I have a bag of his toys. It's his Lightning McQueen backpack. And he gets to pick his toys and we take it out in public. We did not have children's nursery at church today. So homie literally took his backpack and played with his cars on the pew the whole church service. And then he heard the singing and then he heard them say amen. And he said, all done? And then we left. And that's all because of that program. So I'll plug that till the day I die. It's called Raise Wildflowers. She doesn't have a lot of free resources, but I asked for that for Christmas because I didn't want to spend the money on it. And I'm also going through this like decluttering my home phase. So I don't want more things either. So like gifts just for gifts, I don't want. So I asked my mom to do this program instead, and 10 out of 10 would recommend. What are your thoughts, Tori?
I love all the things that you guys offered. I love your little backpack of cars. And it's always like a draw for other kids too. Like, oh, like Cars backpack. Like, even my big kids are like, oh, can I play with the cars with you? That sort of thing. I think, I've not been good about it in the past. My kids, so because they're a little older, they usually ask me, can I bring my XYZ with us? And I usually say yes. I sometimes limit depending on where we're going, like, okay, you got to leave it in the car. If I can't be like really, if it's a special item or like something I might have to keep track of, it just depends. Like if we're constantly popping around to a bunch of different places, you guys know the Bun Bun story. I don't want to go over that again.
I was going to say, Bun Bun stays in the house.
Yeah, but per Hannah, Bun's never leaving this house ever again. She's grounded forever. But I'm a big fan of having open access toys at home. So my kids have their toys upstairs in their room and they can play with those anytime pretty much. But we have like I call them community toys, even though pretty much all of our toys are community toys if we're being honest. But like in our main living area, we have a huge basket of Magnetiles. We have a basket of plate animals with little scarf play scarf scapes on them, different nature scapes, and a barn with a little fence. That's in one basket. We have like the what do they call them? Like the Duplo blocks, like the big kid Legos, or the big Legos, little kid Legos is what I'm trying to say. Duplo blocks. And then I have a basket that it's just like rainbow things. There's peg dolls in there, little rainbow arches, things they can build. I'd say our Magnetiles are out every single day. Magnetiles are our biggest, most played with toy. So we always have those out. I have a pickler triangle and slide in my living room. I have a nugget. We have a whole bookshelf full of coloring, crayons, that sort of thing. That's really open access for my kids. So there's really, I find that as long as I'm here to direct the activities, if I find them getting bored, I send them outside almost always. I'm like, goodbye. Get out of here. You're too crazy. Go play. But, when it's better quality, when it's quiet time or whatever, I direct them like, okay, go find something to do. What are you going to do? And then almost always tiles. I'm going to build something. And then they get all creative. And the thing is open-ended toys. That's really what it boils down to. It doesn't have to be tiles. It doesn't have to be whatever. Open-ended toys, which is just a fancy way of saying something that forces your kid to use their imagination, period. So we have open-ended toys all over this house and options. Now my kids do still ask me, can we watch TV? We're watching together Little House on the Prairie right now. Periodically, we watch it with Daddy. We watch it, and let me tell you, the screen changes, they vary, but the longest one was like 47 seconds or something like that. They're just sitting in the back of this wagon going along for 47 seconds. The screen never changed, and I was just like, wow, this is pretty cool. Anyways, I'm rambling about screens now, but they still do ask, and most of the time I say no. Like, no, you need to go play outside. You need to clean your room. You need to clean up your mess, or you need to color that picture for Mimi, or whatever it is. I just redirect. And sometimes we have if we've had too much screens, exactly what this boils back down to. If we've had too many screens over the weekend or something like that, like, I just want to watch Pokemon. I'm like, no. And that's when I double down on the no, by the way. Like that's my huge indicator, and it sucks. Let me tell you, it totally sucks. But that if your kid's starting to freak out about not getting a screen, if you have to whip your phone out in the grocery store because they won't stop screaming in the grocery store, if you're constantly having to carry around your iPad, I don't know, do some Googling, look up some accounts on Instagram, think about maybe that there might be something a little off about that. That's always my thing. If there's crying about it, that they can't have it, there's a problem. The thing is, it can be fixed in very short period of time. I just cut it out for the whole week, and then it's like, can we watch a show? No. Okay. Move on. So, but what Alyssa said earlier, when you put in the hard work, like for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is, like maximum gains afterwards. Huge suck for maximum gains. It's totally worth it.
I would love to know, before we dive into final thoughts, what has been one of the most eye-opening things you've learned through getting your degree in child development about screens? Like one thing that you feel like people need to know that you learned.
I think I would say, I mean, we've talked about most of it already, but I think one thing is background TV. I think a lot of people don't understand that background TV is the same thing. It's still stimulating the brain, even if they're not watching it. If it's on, it's still a thing. And there's a lot of research to back that up. And that's one thing in my own household that on the weekends specifically is a little bit of a hard thing for me personally, but it's a compromise with, my husband's worked a long week. He's trying to watch his YouTube, and, maybe there's some learning involved, but the background TV thing. But ultimately, the less you do, the better. I think there are positives with the social development on FaceTime at age appropriately. there is educational benefits, but keep it short, no more than, I think it's like an hour a day or something like that. And quality. That's like the biggest thing. In fact, there was a study I was just reading earlier, like in preparation for this, that was talking about if the screen time was all educational and quality, there were no adverse outcomes. But if there was 3 things studied, and you can link the study in the notes, but it was if it was just like kind of a free for all, whatever they wanted, however long they wanted, there was tons of mental health, cognitive, social, emotional, detrimental effects to development. But if it was quality and contained, educational or specific, whatever, then there were no adverse issues. But
How
then
old
if
were
it
the
was like,
kids?
I'd have to look at the study again, but I believe they were 5 years old. I
Cool.
literally, I have like 8 tabs open with different studies I was looking at earlier before this. But this one specifically was talking, in fact, if I just can pull it up really quickly, that would be great. Nope, that's not the one. That's also not the one. Yeah, okay, I don't know. I don't want to spend a bunch of time just like looking for it, but I'll find it and I'll link it. But basically it was saying like if it were video games or something not quality, but the time was shortened, there were less effects. So I think this, because we're becoming more of a digital world, this is becoming more and more widely studied. And I think that, as time goes on, if we continue to look at the research and we continue to see like what the new thing is, like that's really helpful. We should constantly be studying and looking at this. But overall, everything we talked about today is totally legit and totally based in science. Like if you just like blanket statement, screen time is bad for your kids. But caveat, add a little caveat to this episode too. Quality and small quantities
Mm.
is not going to wreck your kids. In fact, there are shown to be positive benefits.
If you had one final takeaway thought you would like to share with our listeners, Tori?
I want to give a little verbal hug to everybody who's listening to this and feels like they're failing or like they're hurting their kids or like they're making the wrong choices or they just can't, they feel like they can't do anything differently or like they're feeling bad after they listen to this episode. I just want to like just take a second and just say like, you're still loved, you're still important, you're still an amazing mom, and we can always do better and we can always change and we can always, shift. No, there's a very few amount of things in parenting and life that are permanent detriments. So even if you've been just like the iPad mom, you have iPad kids, it's still reversible. You can still turn this around. It is not like, this is not a forever, I've damaged my children for life sort of thing. The longer they've been on might be harder to get them off, but it's still possible. You can do it. And I hope that nobody feels like really super bad about themselves. This is, I think I'm reaching out to the hearts because I know at one point, like, because I have been that mom for a long time, for years, I was that mom. So I see you and you're still loved and I love you.
Can I just
You can
say
do
that
this.
That's so
that is the difference between mine and Tori's personalities. Why you are such an asset on this podcast, because I do feel that way. I feel that same way, but like 9 out of 10 times I'm forgetting to tell you about it. So thanks,
That's
Tori, for
so
telling
good.
us.
Always.
And I
I
think
love you guys.
for me, I agree with Tori because I wasn't in there for long, but I fell into it because I felt like I didn't have a choice when I transitioned from 1 to 2 kids. And I also felt like I was miserable in motherhood when I was literally just doing whatever my baby wanted to do all of the time with my first. And that's like pretty vulnerable to say, but I agree with you. There is a better way. You don't know what you don't know, and you just have to choose your heart. And
Yes.
again, for anyone who wants to choose to do the short term hard for the long term gain, I am going to plug again because it was just so life changing for me. If you're like me, I just need to be told what to do. Don't ask me to be creative. Don't ask me to figure it out myself. Give me step by step, check the boxes, do this, 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 and this, and your girl can do it. But like expect me to figure it out on my own, there's no way. I'm just way too within the box of a thinker. Raise Wildflowers and Jerica Sains has the free TV detox that you can do totally for free with your kids. And then if you want to learn how to teach independent play, how to deal with challenging behaviors, that is what I have used as a guideline for Declan. So that would be like my last plug. And just be ready, because this journey of motherhood just in general teaches you a lot about yourself. And I think that's the hardest part about motherhood, is having to learn about myself and learn about my shortcomings that I can cover up in the busyness of filling my time. But when you strip back those things and you take away all of the stimulation to your brain, it does really make you rethink your own habits, your own discontentment in certain areas, and finding your peace in the moment, in the day to day. And it's okay. Yeah. So before we wrap up this fantastic episode about screens, let's share our Momtroversial moments, the moments of motherhood that make you laugh, cry, or just say, yep, that's mom life. I don't know what my Momtroversial moment is yet, so I'm going to have to think about it. Therefore, I'm going to kick the ball to Alyssa's court, who's always prepared, and let you start us off with your Momtroversial moment.
I'm literally frantically thinking. I'll give you just a fun story. Yesterday, we had actually a little movie night with Reagan, because my in-laws have like an outdoor projector set up, and Ryan really wanted to do it. And so we did it. But after dinner, we were playing Duck, Duck, Goose. Well, we were playing two games. We were playing Duck, Duck, Goose, but then we also played this game that Reagan made up. And she had us all line up. And then she had us walk to her one at a time, and she would put a sticker on our backs, like for nursery. It was a pretend sticker. It wasn't a real sticker, but it was like she was checking in for nursery. That's what she called it. And we just all had to go through it again and again, and everyone got to take turns putting the pretend sticker on people's backs. And it was just the most random.
Okay.
We lost her. Okay. Tori, what's your Momtroversial moment?
Okay. I was thinking about this earlier, and I don't think I have like a specific thing, but like a one moment thing. So I'm gonna highlight Charlie this week. He's just getting so like vocal and like hi, whatever, but he does this thing, and he won't do it all the time. Something to know about Charlie: it's on his terms or not at all, period. But if you go like bye bye, he'll go bye bye, whoa whoa, which is love you. And then he blows a kiss. He goes, ooh-wah, ooh-wah. And so we like go back and forth about, I'll say bye-bye. He goes, bye-bye. I'll say love you. He goes, whoa, whoa, ooh-wah. But now he leads it. He'll say bye-bye, and I'll say bye-bye. He says love you. I say love you. It's just like, oh, it just melts my freaking heart, dude. And he's now gotten to this stage of emotional recognition where I hit this like magical spot. My kneecap barely moved to the side, and I hit the corner of my freaking knee on my bench on my table. I screamed bloody murder. It hurt so bad. And I have a very high pain tolerance, for those of you who don't know. I screamed my freaking face off. Charlie came over to me. He goes, Mama, hug. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah. He's giving me kisses. He's giving me hugs. So he recognized that I was in distress, and he came to me and tried to make it better. And I just was like, wow. It was just so special. And so I love this stage. He's almost 17 months. And so I love that I'm seeing the fruits of his emotional development, because it's just so special and sweet.
Ugh, I freaking love that. Alyssa, what is your Momtroversial moment?
Okay, mine is, we were playing with Reagan at my in-laws yesterday. We actually had an outdoor movie night. We watched Lightning McQueen, because what else would you watch? It's either that or Elsa.
Yeah, let's go.
Yes.
But we were playing beforehand, and Reagan like made up this entire game where she made us all, like, it's like 8 adults, okay? We're all standing in a line and she's like a few steps ahead of us. And she made us come one at a time and she would put a pretend sticker on our backs. Like we were checking into nursery was her reasoning. And we played checking into nursery. Like, okay.
That's so cute.
It was so funny. But it was like such a fun little creative game that she came up with. And I just thought it was great.
For us
Love
this
that.
week, Declan, he's just been so parroting everything I say and do. And so when he picks out his clothes, he gets dressed, I'll tell him, you look cute, or I'll say, Sissy looks cute. And so I was getting dressed this week and he was sitting on my bed and he said, I like your dress, mommy. Mommy, I like your dress. You look cute.
Oh.
Aww.
And he
Oh,
just
that's
kept
really
saying
cool.
it. And I was like, thank you, baby. He came up and he pulled my dress. I like your dress. And I was like, oh, thank you. And it just
That is so
was
sweet.
another, yeah, it was a melt your heart. And he went up to Ella and said, Ella, you look cute, sissy. You look cute. Baby's cute. And it just,
Oh.
I can't. I love it. I know.
Obsessed.
So something that I would like to say to all of our viewers as you are listening and finishing, if you have any specific questions in relation to the screen time topic that you would like us to answer or want to share, we would be more than happy to answer any of those questions in the next episode after we receive your questions for recording. And like Tori said, you're doing great. And if no one's told you today, you're built for this. And we love you. And it's never too late to make changes. And with that being said, thank you for unpacking the wild, unspoken sides of parenting, getting a little bit Momtroversial with us today. We would love if you could follow us on Instagram at Momtroversial Podcast. And until the next time, stay real, stay curious, and join us next week for more Bold Mom Talk. Until then, keep it Momtroversial.
Bye.